What up, Raffleators? Welcome back to my channel. We're downtown Georgetown. This is Kroll Street. We're looking at the Citizens Bank. This is the main branch of Citizens Bank here in Georgetown on South Road and Kroll Street at Camp Street. And this is Kroll Street looking west towards the market. That is the Stabrook Market down at the end of the block, down at the end of the street. So here we are at South Road, looking at the Citizens Bank. Kroll Street looking east, uptown. So why am I here? Because it's time for me to give you another update or another lesson in banking, in finance, in how money works. So this video I want to talk about how money works because I'm getting a lot of comments. That's actually Brickdam, buddies on Brickdam, buddies, and the cross at the intersection with Brickdam and Camp Street. That's the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception, and that's the Brickdam Cathedral, the Catholic Church, and of course this is the Catholic compound. Exactly opposite Citizens Bank, that's Demerara Bank. We're now walking north on Camp Street. It's around noon on a Thursday the 12th of September. This is Citizens Bank. When we took a look at Citizens Bank on, is it Aubrey Barker Road? New branch of Citizens Bank at Aubrey Barker Road in South Ramville Gardens. They just opened that branch, and now we're back in the city taking a look at the head office. What you notice is the colors are the same, right? The colors are the same, and the architectural design is also the same. So yeah, what we are talking about is in fact how money works. That's Thai Express here on Camp Street. This is a new fast food chain in Guyana. There are a number of these branches in Georgetown. I have always planned to do a review of these fast food restaurants, just never got around to it. I have a channel, a food channel, which I'm gonna spend some time. That's Charlotte Street looking downtown. Yes, I have a food channel which I'm gonna dedicate some time to some food reviews. I also have a finance channel, business channel, in which I'm probably going to post the videos that I'm making on money, on finance. But today what we want to talk about is how money works. So yes, the issue is how money works. Here on Camp Street there's another bank, that's the Republic Bank. Right, that's Republic Bank here on Camp Street. It's opposite the City Mall. Well, obliquely opposite, because across the street here is the City Mall. Regent Street, this intersection with Regent Street. Regent Street looking uptown, that is east. That intersection, Cam Street, that's looking west. That's Burger King here at the corner of Regent and Camp Street. And yes, we proceed, continue to walk north. These tall buildings, well, not really tall, but low-rise buildings, opposite Regent, opposite the Republic Bank. This is ITEL. ITEL just announced that they're cutting 400 jobs. ITEL and Teleperformance are two of the local companies that do they do customer service for foreign companies, large companies abroad. These are the companies that handle the offshore customer service calls, and they have just announced that they're cutting, that is ITEL, just announced that they're cutting 400 jobs because their business model no longer works in Guyana. They claim that they're not able to utilize cheap labor. In other words, labor costs in Guyana are making it so expensive that their business model no longer works. We're back on, this is Robb Street. Again, passing Republic Bank here on the corner of Robb and Camp Street. And further down the line here, there is the Scotiabank. So this is kind of the oh, we also missed on Regent Street, there is the GBTI, Guyana Bank for Trade and Industry, which is owned by Bihari Group. And further along the street, as you can see, there is Scotiabank. Alright, so there's a Scotiabank outlet nearby and a branch further down the street. So we're actually in the banking district, right? The banking district downtown Georgetown. And I brought you down here so I can talk a little bit about how money works. So a lot of people have been commenting about how money works. This is a little what do you call it, cove with a number of shopping, a small shopping center basically with a number of stores. Started working, I think about 5 years ago. They opened here on Robb Street. Yeah, so people were asking me about, or debating with me about how money works. And as I head down to the main central bank in Guyana, that is Bank of Guyana, which I'm going to show you at the end of this video, I just want to take a few minutes to explain how money works, especially in Guyana. I've been meaning to do a video on how quantitative easing works. I spoke in the last video about how nobody is defending the Guyana dollar. The Guyana government is not defending the Guyana dollar. So this is St. George's Cathedral on King Street. So the argument was, in fact, that since China was involved in market manipulation, this building, of course, is the Guyana Securities Council. This is Guyana stock market, the GSC, the new Guyana stock market, here at the corner of King Street and North Road. All right, King Street and North Road. It's the Guyana Securities Council. So the US government, in responding to China decided that they were going to perform what they call quantitative easing. Quantitative easing means making US dollars available to US companies. Basically, it's just like the government investing in the stock market. Basically, the government is buying US securities. But how are they doing it? They do it by releasing money on the bond market. So basically, US companies get money they borrow money from the bond market, right? They borrow money from the bond market to expand, to do research and development and so on. And when the US government buys US bonds, what they're essentially doing is pumping money into the US stock market, because companies that trade on the stock market get their money, the money they use to expand and to grow and develop, they borrow that money from the bond market. So when the US government is putting money into the bond market, they are essentially putting money into the stock market by basically propping up the companies on the stock market. So this is what has happened in the US since 2008. The US government has systematically been pumping money into the stock market through the bond market. In other words, providing low interest loans to US companies from the bond market. And that's what they call quantitative easing. And the reason why the stock market has risen continuously is because US companies had cheap money to grow and expand. Ahead of us, that's the central bank, Bank of Guyana Central Bank. So that is how the US has been defending the US economy, the stock market, and the US dollar. The question is, how does Guyana, and when and why doesn't Guyana defend the Guyana dollar? But this is the institution that would be responsible for doing that. This is the Bank of Guyana, the central bank. Now the central bank is responsible for, yes guys, so that's the Bank of Guyana building here at Republic Avenue, Main Street and Church Street. And like I was saying, the Bank of Guyana is responsible in Guyana for defending the Guyana dollar. That is, the Bank of Guyana keeps track of all of the vital statistics of the country. And the Bank of Guyana, for example, tells you or tells us the value of the National Resource Fund, how much money is paid to the government of Guyana for each quarter or each month from oil revenue, that is from ExxonMobil, the consortium. And the Bank of Guyana releases those US dollars to the Guyana economy, or basically the money gets paid into an account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, but it would require the Bank of Guyana to access that account, right? So the Bank of Guyana is the central bank of Guyana. The central bank is responsible for regulating the economy, just like the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. The only difference, of course, is that the Federal Reserve Bank is private. The Bank of Guyana is owned by the people of Guyana, the government of Guyana. So the question is, how does money work? How does money work in Guyana? Well, the way it works is that money itself has no value. Money is just a ledger. It's like an accounting record. Remember when we were kids, I used to live at a village on the Quarantine called Firish. I grew up in Firish village, Irish Road, Quarantine, Berbice. And when we were kids, our parents would send us to the shop to buy groceries. And if you didn't have money, the shopkeeper would take out a little notebook and write down all the things that you were getting on credit. So at the end of the week, when you get paid, you would go to the shop market, you would go to the shop, and he would tell you how much money you needed to pay, how much credit you had racked up. We call it trust. And the thing is that this is how money works. Money doesn't really have a value outside of outside of the commodities that is used to purchase. And so that's exactly how it works globally and as well as locally and in governments, between governments. So what we have is a ledger balance at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York that says this much amount of oil has been sold and this much is what you get in exchange for that oil. So money is a means of exchange. The Bank of Guyana keeps track of that record, just like how the shopkeeper would keep track of the goods that you bought at the shop during the week and tell you how much you owe at the end of the week when you get paid. The Bank of Guyana keeps that record. So what happens is that the Bank of Guyana should keep track of how much money Guyana, that is in all currencies, whether it be US dollars in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York or Guyana dollars in the various banks, local banks, and in Treasury and so on. But the Bank of Guyana keeps that record, keeps that ledger. And the way money works is the Bank of Guyana will say, let's release this amount of money into the economy if money becomes scarce. Let's say US dollars are scarce because companies can't find US dollars to make purchases. The Bank of Guyana will release US dollars into the commercial banks. So like the Citizens Bank and Demerara Bank and Republic Bank and GBTI and Scotiabank, the Bank of Guyana will release our from our reserves of US dollars into those banks so that local businesses can get money to buy foreign products. What the Bank of Guyana has been doing, however, is not defending the Guyana dollar, not ensuring that that money goes into Guyanese companies. The way the US has been funding US companies is by buying up bonds, putting US dollars into the bond market so that US companies can borrow that money. However, in Guyana, the Bank of Guyana has been indiscriminately putting US dollars into the commercial banks so that anybody, whether it be a Maasai group of companies from Trinidad or some other foreign company, they can go and exchange their Trinidadian dollars for the bulk of Guyana dollars, the bulk of US dollars that are released into the commercial banks. In that way, Guyanese companies are still unable to get access to US dollars. So the Bank of Guyana has not been regulating access to US dollars for Guyanese companies, but has been indiscriminately putting that money into the commercial banks, and that money has been bought up by foreign companies, especially Trinidad companies, as I explained in the previous video. How do I know this? Because I personally went to the bank to try and buy US dollars, and I was told that US dollars were not available, right? So this is how it works. The Bank of Guyana is supposed to defend the Guyana dollar and defend the currency markets in Guyana, but has not been doing that efficiently, and that is why money is scarce. That is also why the Guyana dollar has not been rising in value. So if there is one thing that can be done to ensure that the value of the Guyana dollar rises, especially since the inflation rate continues to rise, it would be that the Bank of Guyana must intervene to defend the Guyana dollar and to cause the currency to rise. And I explained that in a previous video. Anyway, guys, this is how money works. I'm going to explain in a future video how infrastructure, again, I started explaining that in a previous video, explaining how you build bridges, for example, how you borrow money to build bridges. Because like I said, money itself doesn't have a value. Money is simply a ledger balance. It's a way to keep track, to keep a record of things that are being done in the economy, commodities that are being purchased, infrastructure that's being built. Money is a way to keep track of that. And the Bank of Guyana is our institution that does the tracking and does the releasing of foreign currency. I will explain in future videos why, for example, the government of Guyana should borrow money to build infrastructure and why they should put toll bridges and toll tunnels, toll infrastructure, why they should use tolls to recoup the cost and maintain the infrastructure instead of making it free. But I'll explain that in the next video. For now, this is where we are at the corner of Republic Avenue, in front of the Bank of Ghana building, Church Street, Main Street, and the National Library. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening in the fastest growing economy in the world, Guyana. Later!